What's going on? And welcome back to the In the Cut podcast with your main man, Caleb Carter. I appreciate y'all for joining me here today. And we just gonna get right into it. I hate sounding like that guy who, we just gonna get right into the madness because, but we are just gonna get right into it because I don't really don't have much of a preamble for you. First things first, I take that back. I always have a preamble. Do your boy a favor. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I told y'all I was going to get the YouTube icon for my visual listeners. And look, let me apologize to my YouTube audience. The reason why I say that is because even though most of you probably don't watch on YouTube, but I've neglected the YouTube channel for far too long. I think this will be the third episode, and the previous two episodes, I have the footage. I just been a little lazy, so I haven't edited the footage and put it on YouTube. So I'm gonna be better. Let me apologize for that. But you see the socials. The YouTube is Caleb Carter TV. The Instagram is at @the_in_the_cut show. The Facebook, the Twitter are both at the In the Cut show. So if you wanna see all that In the Cut has to offer, do me a favor and go follow me over there, and that's where you'll be able to check out all the things that come with the In the Cut experience. But hey man, now we're gonna get right into it. And boom. At the end of this episode, I'm probably gonna play a song, and y'all will see what that song is. But it's in order to commemorate the championship that South Carolina, the women's basketball team of South Carolina, just pulled out, beating Iowa in the national championship, giving Coach Dawn Staley her third championship as a basketball coach. So congratulations to South Carolina, and congratulations to Dawn Staley. Crazy thing about South Carolina is that I believe in the last 3 years they're like 109-3. Just marinate with that for a second. They've only lost 3 times out of 112 games. So when we had a whole lot of like GOAT conversations about Caitlin Clark, and understandably so, right? Because she was going off. She leads NCAA women's scoring, leads I believe all NCAA in shooting the 3-pointer. So we had GOAT conversations about whether or not Caitlin Clark could work her way into being the greatest of all time as a player in women's college basketball. But I think we have to begin to open up the conversation about Dawn Staley as the GOAT head coach in women's basketball, right? Because when we think about it, crazy stat, another crazy stat, at least I saw something where forgive me, but South Carolina had an undefeated season en route to this championship. Went 39-0. That's their first fully undefeated season ever. There's another team that has done that 6 times in UConn. And Gino Auriemma, the head coach of the Lady Huskies for UConn, is in that GOAT conversation. For my old school people, Pat Summitt, right, from Tennessee, the Volunteers coach, she's in that GOAT conversation of women's basketball. And I now think Dawn Staley has to be in that conversation. But look, we're going to get to the actual basketball that was played, because sadly, I wasn't able to watch this game. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I really don't know how I missed this game, because I was calling the game for PVMU. They had a 3-game baseball series against Grambling State University. They ended up winning that last game. As you guys know that I do play-by-play for them. So I guess in my transition from coming home to watching Wrestlemania, which I'll get to, I somehow let the South Carolina-Iowa championship fall through the cracks. And that's my bad. Because I already know it was a show. And how do I know that? Because I watched the previous games of this women's tournament, and they have been spectacles, to say the least. I watched when Iowa went up against LSU, when they went up against UConn. I watched when South Carolina, they beat NC State. All Final Four matchups, LSU versus Iowa was an Elite Eight matchup. But you get my point. And let me tell you, it was some captivating basketball. The reason why I can say that is because during the LSU-Iowa game, I was at the gym, right? And luckily, I work out at a gym where they have, multiple TVs up. And you could just see the people, as they were getting their lifts on, whatever, working the quads, working the hamstrings. They tuning in to the LSU-Iowa game, which was only on 2 TVs, which is insane. But you could just see people, looking up at the game while they're getting their lift on. So that just goes to show you how much the women's game has progressed. Not only on the court of play, but just in the eyes and the consciousness of the fan. Right? So that's always good to see. And going back to South Carolina, I wish one of these days I'm going to start actually betting money on my sports thoughts. Right? Because or at least I need to say them publicly before they happen. And some of that is my fault. But I remember I was at Prairie View talking with a couple of old buddies of mine. And we were talking about the South Carolina, Iowa, UConn. That was around the time the Final Four was happening. Matter of fact, we were watching South Carolina play NC State. And South Carolina was winning that game. So we said, who do you think is going to win it all? Or who do you think is going to win the next game between Iowa and UConn? And I said, I think Iowa's going to beat UConn, even though they had Paige Beckers, and I'm just forgetting some of the other players, forgive me. But even though they had Paige Beckers for UConn, and then, you really only had Caitlin Clark for Iowa. So I was like, I think Iowa is going to beat UConn, but Iowa is going to lose to South Carolina. And I know that may seem like, in hindsight, the popular pick. But let me tell you, back then, and people want to have revisionist history on this, people were picking Iowa to go all the way. It was like, this is a part of Caitlin Clark's GOAT case. And it was, and it would have been, had they not ran into the buzzsaw that was South Carolina and Dawn Staley, Camilla Cardoso, Raven Johnson doing what she did on Caitlin Clark. So, shout out once again to the national champion South Carolina Gamecocks for winning the women's national championship. And let me tell you, just a quick, thing about the WNBA. It's going to be a movie. You got Camilla Cardoso going to the league, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they all going to the league. So it's going to be some fun to actually see if that fan base who was so captivated by them in the college game, see if they make that transition to the WNBA. I know I'm going to try, right? Because I'm not going to act like I just watch WNBA all the time. But I'm going to try. Because it seems like there's some good basketball being played. And as a fan of sport, why not watch it, right? So there you go. But next, and this is kind of a branch from the last topic, and I'll try to make this quick. But a player from Iowa Gabby Marshall. You may recognize that name because when Iowa played UConn, that game was, down to the wire. UConn was coming down the court. They had a chance to possibly win the game, right, last few seconds. But an illegal screen was called against UConn. The player who, I don't know how to put this, but the screener for UConn was setting the screen. The player who she set that screen on was Gabby Marshall from Iowa, right? And most people think it was a bogus call. They was like, you don't make that call in that moment. You got to let the players play. I'm not here to talk about whether it was a good call or not. I probably, if it was my team, I'd probably hate the call. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that to be the way your season ends. But the reason why I bring up Gabby Marshall is because, sadly, according to her, she's had to delete her social media, and because of she's been receiving like threats, with offensive language, death threats, and things like that, because of the bogus call made by the referees, but to her avail, I'll say. I don't even know if I use that word right, whatever. But she was the benefactor of that call, of the bad call. So people are sending death threats her way. And that shouldn't be the case, right? I've never really gotten the death threats thing, or like threats in general to players who don't play well. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget, I believe it was in 2021 or 2019, Ben Simmons was playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. This is a quick story. And he had a wide open dunk to probably put over the 76ers in that series. He doesn't take the dunk. He just passes out, and they end up losing that game. Right? That night and next day on Twitter was hilarious. People were clowning Ben Simmons. They was like, Ben Simmons, you need to be getting ready to play overseas. You know what I'm saying? Start learning Chinese now. And that was funny. And I think that is where, it should stop. Right? Because as a professional athlete, I mean, you're on the biggest stage. And if you mess up, a part of being on the biggest stage is you open yourself up to criticism. But I do think that, certain language and death threats are way out of bounds for an athlete playing a game. You get what I'm saying? But I bring up Gabby Marshall and her receiving the threats as kind of a mirror, I guess, of what Angel Reese has been going through during her time at LSU. Because LSU was the national championships from last year, right? And they won the ring. We all saw what Angel Reese did in Caitlin Clark's face. She was like, doing the ring finger, doing the you can't see me. And people took offense to that, right? So that's when people began to, send a lot of hate towards Angel Reese's way. Like, I remember seeing a post on ESPN, and it was saying that Camilla Cardoso, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, they were all like highly regarded coming out of high school. And Angel Reese was actually the number 2 player coming out of high school because they all came from the same graduating class, right? And in the comments, I was blown away. Someone said, who has Angel Reese had to sleep with to be number 2? Right? And then we see later in a press conference that Angel Reese and a teammate of hers, they're crying because of all of the vitriol that has come their way. Right? We see Emmanuel Acho on his show saying you can't be Courage the Cowardly Dog when you're trying to be the villain. Right? So we're all pointing this hate, right? This I don't even know what to say, but we're all pointing this toward Angel Reese, right? A college kid, and we think that she has earned that, or her actions warrant that type of response. But when we see Gabby Marshall receive that same criticism or same type of energy, we all begin to realize that, oh, I mean, come on, this is a kid, it shouldn't be this way, which is true. But we have to, keep things, call it down the line. If it's going to be wrong for Gabby Marshall, it needs to be wrong for Angel Reese. And I'm not saying that there are those who didn't say that it wasn't wrong for Angel Reese. But I think that the majority has now seen the wrong because it has happened to Gabby Marshall. That is what I'm saying. So I think we have to be careful about that. But moving along, you see it on the screen. Because I'm going to put this video on YouTube, so you're going to see it on the screen. Forgive me. But it's been a while. J. Cole. For my rap people out there, or if you frequent music, you may know who J. Cole is. J. Cole is a rapper. One of the most popular rappers of today. He and another popular rapper, Kendrick Lamar, they got into a sparring of words, and you've probably heard the songs. Kendrick is the one who started it by calling not only J. Cole but Drake, another rapper, popular artist, called him out on a song that Drake and J. Cole had together. They called themselves the Big Three along with Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar comes out and says, man, forget the Big Three. It's really just me. As kind of you know what I'm saying? These two not on my level. It's really just me at the top. And if you're a fan of rap like me, you know what I'm saying? Even though I don't frequent rap as much as I used to, I still, you know what I'm saying? I keep my ear to it. And if you're a fan of it like me, you like, oh man, this could be a little something between the biggest in the game. Right? So when that happened, everybody was like, okay, what is J. Cole gonna say? What is Drake gonna say? And then J. Cole, 2 weeks later, he comes out with a track of his own called 7 Minute Drill. And in that song, J. Cole talks about how, Kendrick Lamar doesn't release enough music. His discography isn't as great as people make it out to be. And this was a warning shot from the mouth, that is, of J. Cole. That's what he said. It was a warning shot. He was like, I really don't have a problem with Kendrick, but if he has a problem, then it can be a problem. And everybody was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Let's see now. Now we got something going. J. Cole has responded. But then, just as things were heating up, J. Cole at a festival, the Dreamville Festival, that is the name of his label, J. Cole comes out and apologizes for his actions. And I'm going to throw it to the clip. I ain't going to play all of it because the clip is like 3 minutes long and it almost is redundant. And plus, my man is cursing a lot, and I don't play cursing on the podcast. So, but we're going to bleep some of it out, and I'm going to let y'all hear the premise of what J. Cole had to say.
In my spirit of trying to get this music out, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I moved in a way that I spiritually feel bad on me. Like I try to jab my nigga back, and I try to keep it friendly, but at the end of the day, when I listen to it and when it comes out and I see the talk, that shit don't sit right with my spirit. That shit make me feel, that shit disrupts my fucking peace. So what I want to say right here tonight is, in the midst of me doing that and in that shit, trying to find a little angle and downplay this nigga's fucking catalog and his greatness, I want to say right now tonight, how many people think Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest motherfuckers to ever touch a fucking microphone?
So that was J. Cole apologizing for his diss track. And I put that in air quotations because, like he said himself, it was more so a warning shot. He said that in the song 7 Minute Drill toward Kendrick Lamar, and he apologized for that. Right? And the reason that he said that he's kind of, like retracting his statements, as you heard in the video, is because spiritually, for him, it affected him in a negative way. Right? It didn't sit right with him that for a person that he doesn't really have a problem with, a person that he respects, a person that he probably considers his friend, that he had to come out and act like, that there was a issue when there really wasn't. And I get that, right? As someone who is a Christian, you know what I'm saying? I've had my disputes, right, with people I consider to be friends. And, I'd be like, I probably shouldn't have said that. And it won't sit right with me until I apologize for saying it, right? Because naturally, I don't want to have a problem with people who I consider to be friends. And on that level, I completely understand where J. Cole is coming from. But as a fan of rap, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't just the wee bit disappointed, right? Because I think this would have probably brought us a lot of good music. And I don't believe, could it have gotten ugly? Yes. So I'll concede that it could have easily gotten ugly because rappers are, emotional people. They get real arrogant sometimes. So if their pride is checked, then they might respond in a way that didn't need to be. But I don't think it would have gotten ugly, at least between J. Cole and Kendrick, because they have a relationship. So as a fan of rap, knowing and thinking at least that it wouldn't have gotten ugly, just a bit disappointed in the response from J. Cole. But again, I understand it. The worst part about it though is that J. Cole would usually come out on, songs himself within the past 3 years and say, I'm the best. Nobody won't smoke with me. Nobody want a problem with me because I'm the best. And I will do you dirty on your own song. I will out-rap you on your own song. And I'm the best rapper in the game. Everybody else is behind me. So it seems like the moment that somebody actually tries to compete with you, that's when you begin to retract your statements. I can see why people don't like that. Right? I can see why people saying that J. Cole is kind of cowarding out of the competition. But again, I do understand where J. Cole is coming from in saying that, you know what, this is too much. You know what I'm saying? This ain't the type of person I am, so I'm not going to pretend that that it is, you know what I'm saying, that it is a problem. So I completely understand why J. Cole did what he did. And I completely understand why fans are disappointed in what they saw from J. Cole. Moving on. Back to sports. Where is that? Texans. Shout out to the Houston Texans, man. We're going to the Super Bowl this year. Just wanted to let y'all know. Just a quick little PSA. The Houston Texans are going to the Super Bowl. And if you're wondering why, it's because Houston Texans just picked up Stephon Diggs, all-pro receiver from Buffalo via trade. And here's the part that I love even more, because I know I'm a bit late to the Diggs trade, so I'm going to keep it brief. Here's the part that I love about the Diggs trade. Stephon Diggs was traded to the Texans on a 4-year contract. Right? So the Texans would have essentially had him for 4 years, you know what I'm saying, to finish out his contract. What the Texans did instead, though, they said, you know what? We just going to give you all your money that's guaranteed to you in this contract in the first year. And these other 3 years, we done with them. So you're now on a 1-year deal here in Houston. And let me tell you why I love that. Because even though I love Stephon Diggs being here for, CJ Stroud, I think having that type of receiver here for CJ Stroud will open up so many doors for the offense. But here's my problem with Stephon Diggs. He had a problem in Minnesota when Adam Thielen was getting a little bit too much love. Understandably so, because Diggs was better than Thielen. But you began to make a little bit too much noise. You had a problem in Buffalo when you weren't getting the ball. And understandably so. I mean, you're an all-pro receiver. But you're making a little bit too much noise, right? You're becoming a little bit too much of a distraction. And I hate using that word because it sounds like I'm some type of GM. Or you know what I'm saying? To me, distraction is a coded word in sports. But I'm gonna leave it at that. And you come to Houston. You got young talent in CJ Stroud. A young talent in Tank Dell. A relatively young talent in Nico Collins. Right? That's your quarterback and your 2 existing receivers who've shown promise. And you bring Diggs into that situation. It could easily go south if things don't go the way Stephon Diggs would like them to go. Maybe he doesn't get the ball enough. I mean, because you got to spread it around to Tank Dell and to Nico. Maybe he doesn't get the ball enough, and now he's upset on the sidelines the same way we would see him upset on the sidelines with Josh Allen. And I don't want CJ Stroud to go through that, right? So what the Texans do, Nick Caserio, shout out to Nick Caserio. I mean, this dude has really shown himself to be a pretty good GM after some questionable ways to start it off. Shout out to you, Nick. But what he does is wipe out the back 3 years of the deal. Stephon Diggs, you're now on a 1-year prove-it deal. You got to show me that you're still that guy, and you got to show me that you're going to act right here in Houston. I love it. I love this Stephon Diggs move, and I love Nick Caserio restructuring that contract. So, when y'all see the Texans in the Super Bowl next year, just know I called it right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to clip this for when the Texans make it to the Super Bowl next year. And in all reality, do I think the Texans could make it? Yes. But do I think we will? To be determined. But if you remember, the last podcast I said, or the one before last, one of them, I said that the Texans weren't there yet. We are there now. I truly believe that. Now, I still believe our defense could, you know what I'm saying, maybe use one more guy, maybe a safety. But I think we're in a good spot. And DeMeco Ryans, I trust him with our defense. So, I think our ceiling is the Super Bowl. And I think our floor should be at least maybe 2 playoff wins now. I think we've cemented ourselves. People kept trying to, and I'm gonna be done. But people kept trying to tell me that Jacksonville somehow was going to be better than Houston this year, or the Colts or something. What have we seen from Jacksonville that shows us? I mean, because they fell off a cliff. I mean, yeah, Trevor Lawrence got hurt, but they fell off a cliff last year. And you trying to tell me that Anthony Richardson is some proven quarterback? Yeah, I get Shane Steichen. He loves him, and Shane Steichen is brilliant. But we don't even know exactly what Anthony Richardson is in the league. And he's coming off a crazy injury. So don't try to sell me that now just because we got Stephon Diggs that we're now in the lead of the AFC South. We were in the lead even before we got Diggs. But I'm done. All right. Last thing. Shout out to all my wrestling fans, man. Shout out to y'all. And I'm not going to act like I'm the most diehard. You know what I'm saying? I don't watch Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown each and every week. But I definitely stay tuned in. And I watched this WrestleMania, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Because if you watched it, then you know what's been going on. The Bloodline storyline was the main selling point. I mean, you had The Rock coming back, being involved in the Bloodline. Apart from that, you had Seth Rollins facing off against Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest finally cashes in to win the World Heavyweight Championship. So shout out to all my people for the payoff that we got. Cody Rhodes finishes the story from 2 years ago, or a year ago rather, at WrestleMania 39 and beats Roman Reigns with the help of John Cena, who came back crazy, with the help of Jey Uso, who tackled his brother Jimmy off the ramp, and the Undertaker even came back. So it's a beautiful time for a wrestling fan. Look, and let me tell you, I almost feel ashamed to say this, but I haven't been to a live show, and I'm not talking about no live event. I want to go to a Monday Night Raw, a SmackDown, or like a pay-per-view. That's what I want to go to. I haven't been to one, and that's still on my list. So one of these days, I'm gonna go. Trust that. But I need to hurry up and go before all the. And I said this years ago. I said this in 2013. I was like, I need to go before all the good people go. Good thing about WWE right now and wrestling right now, there's been a constant cycle of good people, right? Right? Even some of the lesser known people, I find that they have talent, and wrestling is in a really good spot right now. So shout out to that. Shout out to all my fans, WWE fans. But hey, man, we about to get out of here. This is another one of them episodes that really just flew by. You know what I'm saying? I think we had some good conversation. Y'all see the socials once again. I'm not gonna say them. I am gonna say them. Instagram at @the_in_the_cut show. Facebook and Twitter at @the_in_the_cut show. For YouTube, there will be a YouTube video that goes up. Trust me when I say that. And that'll be Caleb Carter TV, where you can find it. So hey, man, we appreciate you for being in the cut. What's your favorite cousin? Caleb Carter. Appreciate you. And y'all thought I forgot. Just because we need to celebrate South Carolina winning the national championship, and we need to celebrate the Houston Texans on their way to the Super Bowl, I'm going to leave you with this song. So be safe. Be blessed. Peace out.